boy, EA hasn't been on my good graces for the past few years, from business practices that don't sit well with me, to even butchering some of my favorite franchises from them like The Sims and Mass Effect. I've hardly bought anything new from them. When I also heard that they were handling the Star Wars franchise after Disney had shut down LucasArts after their purchase of Lucasfilm, I was even more skeptic, and the reception of the first two Battlefront reboot games kinda solidified it. Or so I thought until Jedi Fallen Order released, with EA stating that practices such as loot boxes would be missed out in this. With that in mind, did EA finally deliver? Let's find out. The story of the game focuses on former Jedi apprentice Cal Kestis, a survivor of Order 66. After losing his master to the clone troopers, Cal flees and cuts himself off from the Force. Years later, Cal is seen on the scrapyard planet of Bracca, whom after seeing a viable piece of scrap from the old Clone Wars, an accident happens and Cal saves his co-worker from accidentally falling into his death by using the Force again. Unfortunately, his Force usage attracts the Empire, who sends Inquisitors to investigate, causing Cal to leave, but not before being chased by the Empire. He is then saved by former Jedi Master Seer and her shipmate Grease, who Cal agrees to help on their quest to unlock a treasure on the planet Bogano, hidden by a Jedi Master, and on the way, meets several other characters such as the droid BD-1 and Knight's sister Marin. Hell, even characters from the movies and TV shows such as Saw Gerrera make an appearance as well. Honestly, the story is one of the best in the series of Star Wars games in ages, which, like Knights of the Old Republic 2, without the choices, involves the story of a fallen Jedi and his road to recovery. All the while, rich with lore as to what happened in the past on each world and their current life. Hell, even some Imperial archives help. The gameplay of Jedi Fallen Order is an action game with a ton of influences. For instance, Cal is an acrobatic as the Prince of Persia, Nathan Drake, or even reboot Lara Croft. The combat takes a few cues from the Souls series of games by From Software, although you don't have to play it that hard with difficulty levels implemented. But what stands out to me more is the exploration in these maze-like maps, with the developers at Respawn admitting that Metroid is the biggest influence on that aspect. And honestly, perhaps coming from the fact that Metroid still hasn't had a new game yet, besides a remake on the 3DS, I think the exploration was the most fun aspect. Sure, most of the games you find are customization options for Cal's lightsaber, what he can wear, and changing colors for your droid or his crew's ship. You can also find lore that goes with the story across 6 planets the game has. Even more secret finds can help increase health, increase your force points, and even increase the amount of stim packs Cal and BD can carry. Plus, the upgrades you get by default to help advancing the story, ranging between Cal remembering old tricks he did as a Padawan, to even gadgets and lightsaber upgrades for himself, to droid upgrades for BD. Now, as one who couldn't get into the first 2 hours of Dark Souls and having given up after that, not wanting to break any controllers, I have to say that the combat works pretty well in Jedi Fallen Order. A thing to note though is that if you've played games like the Jedi Knight series and the Force Unleashed titles, you can't experiment with force powers from both sides of the Force, so you can't force choke, force lightning, hell, not even use the Force to heal yourself. Likely to go with whatever canon rules Disney set up after buying the franchise from George Lucas, but nevertheless, as the game's combat requires more strategy and timing, rather than just button-mashy combat, it feels fairly deep. Especially when you get to lightsaber dueling. And oh boy, are they a challenge, even on the fairly easy, moderate difficulty. What is off-putting, though, is that the inconsistent rule of how lightsabers work, mainly with how Disney seems fine with cutting vicious animals and droids into pieces, but not humanoids unless there is a cutscene. And I don't think the ESRB would freak out, given the Jedi Knight games at least cut off hands, or Force Unleashed 2 when you can sever even more than that, and they were still rated T for teen, but whatever. Visually, the game looks stunning with Unreal Engine 4, and that's something I will give the Battlefront EA games as well with Frostbite Engine. From environments that look breathable and even dead in the case of Dathomir, to the character models that look real, and in the case of human characters, match that of their actors. I'm also giving credit to the sound design as well. One for voice casting being very well acted, in particular of having the talent of Cameron Monaghan, Travis Willingham, and even Forrest Whitaker reprising Saw Gerrera. Two for the music being well composed, with only few instances of using the John Williams soundtrack, even capturing classic Star Wars sounds of blasters and lightsabers. And thankfully, there is a bit of replay value in the game as well, and not just finding collectibles and secrets you missed. There is even a new Game Plus mode and a couple extra smaller modes, all of which are unlocked by the end of the game. Overall, Jedi Fallen Order is a major improvement for EA Star Wars games, mainly for not installing the scum that is loot boxes, and instead giving us a fleshed out, full-on single-player mode that provides you hours of gameplay. Sure, it sucks lightsaber combat is insufficient with the rules, it's still very fun, accessible, and the story is worth going through. Keep this effort up, EA, and your games may get a returning fan. Jedi Fallen Order deserves a 9 out of 10.